What's up, everybody? I hope everybody had a good weekend. Thank you for tuning in. And I just wanted to say thank you guys. I just passed 100 views and I just started this channel a week ago. And that means a lot to me because my goal was 20 views. And I just said I'm going to keep making videos. And you guys are starting to watch them. So thank you very much. I appreciate it greatly. And you don't know how much that means to me. So, all right, let's get over all the sappy shit and let's get into this. So, let me give some context. All right, JD Vance, the Giga Chad of the Republican Party, and listen, nobody likes the Republicans or the liberals. They are equally hated. This is where MAGA comes in, and this is what people don't talk about because they know it scares people. Because oh my god, it's a new party. MAGA is America first. They want to make America great for everyone, every color, every race, every creed, every religion. It doesn't matter. MAGA is if you love your country and you want your country to do better, you want your kids to prosper and be able to own a home, you want to be able to take more money home on your paycheck, you want to pay cheaper gas, you want your groceries to be cheaper, that's MAGA. It's that simple. And that's what people are finding out. And that's why you're seeing this mass exodus of black liberals leaving the Democrat Party. That's why, because they're starting to realize, yo, MAGA is not racist. None of this is racist. It's America first.
How
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
long do you think it would take to deport 20 million people? Because President Trump has promised to deport as many people, undocumented people in this country as there are. So what does that timeline look like for you?
Well, I don't think you're gonna have to deport every single one of them because a lot of them will actually leave the country willingly if you make it harder for them to work, right? So I think that you have to combine, and again, President Trump and I really think this is necessary. You have to deport a large number of people. There are way too many illegal aliens in this country. You have to reestablish some deterrence and law enforcement for people coming here illegally. I think it's certainly reasonable to deport around 1 million people per year in the United States of America. Now, of course, we have 25 million. So that would take a long time, 25 years, if my math is correct. But again, I don't think that you have to deport everybody because if you reestablish some semblance of a reasonable border policy, a lot of those people are going to go home willingly. If you make it harder for American companies to undercut the wages of American workers by hiring illegal labor, a lot of those folks are going to go home. I've introduced legislation to tax remittances because a lot of what goes on is that people come into the country, they make money, they send a lot of it home to whatever country they came from. If you tax the remittances, then people aren't going to come here to sort of try to work under the table to begin with. So again, I think the focus here is like somewhat off because people talk about the logistical difficulty of making this happen. Well, again, we have had large scale deportation efforts in the United States. I mean, look, Barack Obama, to his great credit, deported a hell of a lot more people than Kamala Harris has. So you can deport people in this country who are here legally. You just have to have the political willpower to do it. But if you don't do this, Lulu, I mean, what are you're basically saying the United States doesn't have meaningful border policy. I mean, Mexican drug cartels have become the wealthiest criminal organization maybe in the entire world because of what Kamala Harris has done at the border. Not to mention, like I'm a big believer in the social contract in this country. Like I benefited sometimes from a generous United States government, meaning a generous United States taxpayer that made it possible for us to afford things that we wouldn't have always been able to afford. So when you bring in millions upon millions of people, you degrade and destroy the social trust that's necessary to support any kind of a modern support for poor people, food assistance, housing assistance. You are not going to have that stuff if you allow millions upon millions of people into this country illegally and then they get to take advantage of it.
Well, let's say you were successful in carrying out those mass deportations. One thing that everyone agrees on is that more housing is necessary in this country, right? The reason that there is a housing crisis is that not enough houses have been built.
And that we have 25 million people who shouldn't be here.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I
think it's both.
I know you do. I don't think that many people who look into this agree with you, but about a third of the construction workforce in this country is Hispanic. Of those, a large proportion are undocumented. So how do you propose to build all the housing necessary that we need in this country by removing all the people who are working in construction?
Well, I think it's a fair question because we know that back in the 1960s, when we had very low levels of illegal immigration, Americans didn't buy houses, didn't build houses, but of course they did. And I'm being sarcastic, of course, in service of a point, Lulu. The assumption that because a large number of home builders now are using undocumented labor, that's the only way to build homes, I think again
The country is
betrays
much
a
bigger. The
fundamental.
need is much bigger. I mean, I'm not arguing in favor of illegal immigration. I'm asking how you would deal with the knock-on effect of your proposal to remove millions of people who work in a critical part of the economy.
Well, I think that what you would do is you would take, let's say, for example, the 7 million prime age men who have dropped out of the labor force, and you have a smaller number of women, but still millions of women prime age who have dropped out of the labor force. You absolutely could re-engage folks into the American labor market. This is, I think,
To work in construction?
of course you could.
I
So
mean,
long as you
the
so
unemployment
long
rate
as
is
you-
4.1%.
but
Most
the
people who
unemployment rate, Lulu, this is important. The
But most people who
unemployment
don't work can't work in the regular economy. They're in the military, they're parents, they're sick, they're old. They might not want to work in
The
construction.
unemployment rate does not count labor force participation dropouts. And again, this is one of the really deranged things that I think illegal immigration does to our society is it gets us in a mindset of saying we can only build houses with illegal immigrants when we have 7 million, just men, not even women, just men who have completely dropped out of the labor force. People say, well, Americans won't do those jobs. Americans won't do those jobs for below the table wages. They won't do those jobs for non-living wages, but people will do those jobs. They will just do those jobs at certain wages. And think about this from the perspective of an American company, okay? I want them to go searching in their own country for their own citizens. Sometimes people who may be struggling with addiction or trauma, get them re-engaged in American society. We cannot have an entire American business community that is giving up on American workers and then importing millions of illegal laborers. That is what we have thanks to Kamala Harris's border policies. I think it's one of the biggest drivers of inequality. It's one of the biggest reasons why we have millions of people who have dropped out of the labor force. Why try to re-engage an American citizen in a good job if you can just import somebody from Central America who's going to work under the table for poverty wages? It is a disgrace, and it has led to the evisceration of the American middle class.
So this woman is trying to just, use the bleeding heart liberal card. Oh my God, these people. Like, dude, a road never got paved. A house never got built until illegals did it. Or some, like, ridiculous. What is she talking about? Americans always did these things, and the only reason that we stopped doing them is because these companies don't pay fair wages. So they never want to attack the real problem, which is that these companies, they don't want to pay fair, livable wages for all these people to entice them to come work for them. So I don't know how they can get these people to work under their tail. I see it everywhere. In California, you see so many people that have construction crews. They're all illegals. Anybody that does home renovations in California, most of their crew are all illegals. Like, they just are all paid under the table, and you get exactly what you pay for. Like, sorry to say, but it's not very good work. And people that don't know anything about like home renovations, they'll be like, "Oh wow, look, it looks so good." Go underneath the sink. Look at how your plumbing looks. Look at how they sealed and attached your whole kitchen side to the wall. Look at all that. It always looks like shit. I go into so many houses and inspect all these, and I always ask, did you guys have a private company do your renovation? Oh yeah, yeah. And then I don't want to say anything because I'm like, dude, they fucked you guys so bad. Like, your shit is fucked. And I don't know if it's because well, I do know what it's because. It's because they look for the quickest, fastest way to go to just get to the next job. They just want to get to the next job, like just get it finished, get it done. And then they say, if you have any problems, call us, we'll come and fix it. And then whoever owns the company, they just call a third party to come and fix that. So it's just like, dude, I hear these people always say these things like, "Oh, they're so bro, they're not the hardest workers. They know how to cut every single corner." Because if you go to TJ, look at their houses out there. Why do the houses in TJ look the way they look, but the people that are building those houses are coming over here and people are paying premium prices, like top of the level prices to get these houses built, and they're getting someone building their house that builds basically shanty towns. Okay. Make it make sense. I always hear liberals say that. Make it make sense. Yeah, because they can't make sense out of anything. They virtue signal and they have to fucking oh my god, dude. Whenever you start actually looking at this stuff and you start thinking about it and you're like, why this doesn't make sense. Like, why are we paying people money that is not livable wage and we're expecting them to do a professional looking job? Yeah, that's just not going to happen. And they never talk about that. And that's what gets me to this is my most important point. Thank you so much, JD Vance, for saying this, because this is how we change America right here. To engage the young people to get back into the workforce, you have to do something to entice them. Okay. So there's no reason for them to get involved because they don't see $15 an hour as a reason to even join the workforce. Why? No one's going to do that. So you have to offer them a livable wage with full benefits, all that, all the good stuff, and there has to be some kind of like incentive, like there's bonuses, you're going to move up, you're going to get promoted, we're going to train you, to do a good job instead of just having like illegal aliens come and do the work as cheap as possible and doing like a shoddy job that you're just gonna have to get fixed in like a year or two anyways. Like, it doesn't make sense. But I fully believe exactly what he's saying about getting the young people back into the workforce. We need to actually give them something to look forward to. Now we're gonna look at another Trump deranged libtard reporter. Like, dude, these people are just all they do is try to dissect every word that comes out of Trump's mouth instead of focusing on the actual issue. And that's how they deflect every time, and they feel so virtuous and they feel so like righteous. Oh, I try to tell him. But guess what, dude? JD Vance, dude, the Giga Chad, bro. He ain't ever falling for their bullshit, dude. He never falls for their stupid virtue signals, trying to shame him, trying to put everything on his back. Joe Biden is the president right now. They act like Trump is the president right now. Well, like I don't even understand the mindset that these people come from. It's like shame, 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 shame. Ignore the actual problem. Shame, 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 shame. Oh, xenophobe. Oh, homophobe. Oh, racophobe. Oh my God. It's like, dude, acophobe is like, dude, listen to this fucking lady. She's out of her mind, bro.
We played some other comments about migrants, including in Aurora, in Colorado, where Trump said the city had been invaded and conquered by Venezuelan gangs. The Republican mayor of the city said flatly the city and state have not been taken over or invaded or occupied by migrant gangs. So do you support Donald Trump making those claims that the Republican mayor says were grossly exaggerated and have hurt the city's identity and sense of safety? I understand what you're saying, that some people left behind, but he's making these statements that the mayor is flat out disputing.
Well, Martha, you just said the mayor said they were exaggerated.
Grossly
that
exaggerated.
Means that there's got to be some.
that means there's got to be some element of truth here. And of course, President Trump was actually in Aurora, Colorado, talking to people on the ground. And what we're hearing, of course, Martha, is that people are terrified by what has happened with some of these Venezuelan gangs.
Senator Vance, I'm going to stop you because I know exactly what happened.
Martha.
I'm going to stop you. The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border. Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
Okay, let's just end that with they did not invade or take over the city, as Donald Trump said. I want to move on to
just a few apartment complexes, no big deal.
A few apartment complexes that the mayor did not seem was invading the entire city. Let's move on to women and abortion.
What? What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
The police arrested more than a dozen people suspected of being Tren de Aragua gang members right here in San Antonio.
The arrests were during a raid this weekend at the Palacia Apartments off Sahara Drive on the north side. News 4 San Antonio's Jay Avila has been following this story for months, reporting the gang members had been terrorizing the apartment complex.
Yeah, he spoke with the property owner to get his reaction on the months-long investigation, and Marisa Mendoza talked with Catholic Charities, an entity assisting migrants with their stay at the complex.
But first we start with Jay. Jay, what did the manager tell you?
Well, Jonathan and Mandy, it is a massive apartment complex near the airport with 678 units. The owner tells me gang members were breaking into vacant units and renting them to immigrants from the city's Migrant Resource Center, even writing up phony leases. Barker didn't know at the time SAPD and other agencies had started investigating members of the Venezuelan gang called Tren de Aragua, which eventually resulted in Saturday's early morning raid.
We're very thankful, and we have so much gratitude to what the SAPD's done.
Barker says he's learned more about how gang members were targeting immigrants at the Migrant Resource Center and luring them to his sprawling complex.
They were meeting them at the migration station saying, we can house you, you can pay us, here's a formal lease. And so that's exactly what was happening, is that they were basically setting up an enterprise of leasing out these vacant units.
Barker says as crime and vandalism increased, more of his long-term residents moved out, creating more vacant units, with intruders eventually breaking into about 250 of them. Barker says he was struck by the similarity to allegations of Tren de Aragua members taking over apartments in Aurora, Colorado.
First they say it's not happening, right? It's not happening. It's not happening. You're racist. You're xenophobe. Then they say, oh, what's happening? But it's rare. It's rare. It only happens like once or twice. It only happens a couple times. It's just a handful. It's just a handful of illegals with M16s, Glocks with switches, AR-15s, and machine guns, and 22s, and like, how are they getting all these guns? Oh, well, that's how deep the gangs actually go. So they have the gangs come in, right? All the gangs come in, And then they get them into the shelters. And guess who delivers the food? Who delivers the food to the shelters? The gang members. Because how are they getting the guns into the shelters? What other way would they get these guns to these people other than putting the guns into the actual deliveries of food, shipments, clothing, all that stuff? They just throw a gun in there. Hey, whoever gets it, dude. It's meant for this guy, but we got 10 more coming, so somebody's going to get it that's part of the gang. You're a liar. It's just a handful of people kicking people's door downs and shoving guns in their faces. Dude, they're future astronauts. They're future, they might be police. They might be police in the same city that they're trying to shove guns in people's faces and take their property and like, oh my God, dude. These gangs are graping our American women. So a whistleblower in the FBI came out and he said that they dropped the information. They've been watching them for over a year. They know all from New York to Colorado. They have info on these gangs for the last year. So it's funny how she likes to leave out all the really, really important details and just say, "Oh, it's just a handful of times, dude. You're just a racist. You're RAYCISS because you're cis white male, and you're probably Christian too. Oh, we know you do like God, don't you? So we hate you. We hate you. Yeah, we know. We know you hate everybody that doesn't believe your narrative. Like you don't hate these people enough. Like, bro, I don't understand how anyone can watch these people and not be disgusted with themselves if they actually get through the whole interview and they think like, wow, she did a good job. Well, they just hate America. And it's like, I don't know if these people are like commie CIA, like communist people that have been implanted into every facet of our system. Like, why? Why would you sit there with a straight face and try and virtue signal and correct JD Vance, telling him it's just a handful of illegals that are shoving guns in people's faces? Like, only criminals are allowed to have guns, not citizens. Citizens, no, we need to take all your guns, all the citizens, all the responsible people, all the responsible gun owners. No, we need to take your guns. Only illegal aliens should be allowed to have guns so they can raid your apartment and steal your shit and keep you alive just so you keep paying them money. See, because they figured it out. It's not, you don't go and just rob somebody. That's a one-time transaction. You put them in fear for their life and you keep getting the money month after month after month. You have a client for as long as they stay there, and then they'll just move somebody else in like a month, and then you keep it going. And they do it to their own people, and that's how they get them to join the gang. They're like, yo, we're gonna do this to you, and if you don't do it, then we're just gonna extort you like we do the white people and the black people and the Mexican people and the Asian people. It doesn't matter what race you are. This is coming to a city near you. So there's only one way that they got this info. These people, they have no standards, they have no morals. They're all scumbags. They sold out their crew. There's no loyalty amongst thieves. There is none. They actually they got the threat with some actual jail time. When you're committing crimes as high as a level as they are, you're going to spend a long time in jail. So the best thing for them to do is to just snitch out their buddies and they can get immunity. And that's what they did because this is a year old. Republicans have been talking about this for the last year and nobody's listened. JD Vance has been talking about this for over a year. Trump said it on the debate with Kamala and it set the world on fire, bro. They lost their minds, dude. And finally, they're finally starting to pay attention. And that's what it's all about is, I know people love their pets, and I'm sorry that you guys had Haitians eat your cats and dogs allegedly. But the bigger issue is that they're dropping all these illegals into all these people's small neighborhoods, and it's totally changing the whole city's demographics, everything, crime, everything. Another big thing is that they're driving the violence up in this country, and it's not getting reported because these people that are in sanctuary cities, they don't get held for anything. What happens is if somebody is an illegal alien and they commit a crime, they'll get held in jail, and when they run their prints or whatever, it'll set off something for ICE. So ICE gets the hit, right? And then ICE contacts the jail and says, hey, hold that guy. He's a PDF file. Hold that guy. We need to come get him, dude. He raped some little kid. And these sanctuary cities say, hey, go fuck yourself. We're gonna let him go back into the community because we're not istophobes over here. So like, we're just gonna let this PDF file go, just have a good old time in our small town, and you can't do nothing about it. Sorry. And you can thank Kamala Harris for that, because she, in a Senate hearing, she compared ICE, whose main priority is to arrest PDF files that are illegal aliens. She compared them to the KKK. Okay, that's what she did in a Senate hearing with the guy he was running ICE at the time. That's the level of degeneracy that you're getting from Kamala Harris. She wants to keep PDF files out there terrorizing our cities. Just so you know, in some of these big liberal cities, like even states in California, they hate ever admitting these things. They love to say, well, FBI, if FBI says it, it must be true. That's their big dunk on Republicans. But I don't understand if Republicans in these debates don't look at the stats before they go in. California, which is like has I think we have the largest population in the entire country, only gives the FBI 2% of their statistics for crime that they're reporting on. Yeah, go fact check that, libtards, and then you can eat my balls after. All right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in once again, and I hope everybody had a great weekend, and thank you all very much for watching. I am Modern Menace, here to curb stomp the narrative. It doesn't matter which side it comes from. I will always be here to curb stomp their narrative. Thank you very much. Like, comment, and subscribe. And check out all the good merch we have on Dissenter Designs. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Let me get on! Let me get on!